to speak more on this, we're now joined by Dr. Bob Wekesa from the Wits African Center for U.S. Studies. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Wekesa, and of course, a very good afternoon to you. So these are arguably extraordinary and unprecedented times for U.S. Politics. I mean, let's first look at the moments leading up to this decision by Biden. I mean, notwithstanding, of course, the pressure and the criticism around his capabilities linked to his age and cognitive abilities, etc. This has to have been a very difficult decision for him to make.
No, certainly it was. He was very adamant for days on end, insisting that he was the right person to beat a resurgent Donald Trump. And so it was not even expected that he will indeed yield. Quite a number of people thought that he was going to go all the way in terms of insisting that he had the mandate from nearly 14 million Democratic Party members to carry the party flag. And of course, this came only a week after the attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump, which happened the previous Saturday. So within the span of 1 week, we've seen major developments in the U.S. politics as we head towards the November elections that make it one of the most unprecedented elections ever in U.S. electioneering.
I mean, obviously, you know, Biden putting his full support, as he put it, behind Kamala Harris was important. I mean, how hard a task then do you think lies ahead for her? I mean, is this enough time, or is there enough time for her to run a successful campaign while uniting the Democrats? I mean, there's, you know, the Democrats convention in Chicago next month, and in 4 months' time, of course, the elections.
No, I think there are two ways to look at this. On the one hand, the time is very short for the Democratic Party to convert Vice President Kamala Harris to candidate Kamala Harris. These are two different personas. There's lots of branding to be done. There's lots of convincing of the entirety of the party as it goes to the Democratic National Convention, 19th to 22nd of August. There is the search for the running mate. There is all matters to do with the campaign financing. Campaign financing is a big deal in the U.S. There's the whole idea of transfer of the campaign machinery, including the secretariat. That's based in Delaware, which is Biden's home state, to one that we have no idea, in fact, where it will be best. If it will be in Los Angeles or California, where Kamala Harris comes from. So just the logistics of it all is something to ponder about, and that imposes quite some major challenges on the party. But on the other hand, I think it's already energized the Democratic Party that was surging and sagging, that was not doing too well with the concerns about Biden's equity, his age, his flip-flop, his many mistakes that he makes in his speeches, and so forth. So the energy certainly is something that the Democratic Party will have to ride on. The endorsements have come in fast and furious. It's almost certain that there will be no challenger for Kamala Harris at this point. In any case, the people who are being mentioned as potential challengers to Kamala are all new, not as well known as Vice President Kamala Harris. So we have two sides of that, and it will depend then on how fast the Democratic Party moves to endorse and put in place the managerial administrative campaign mechanisms to make it happen.
And of course, I want to talk about, just some of the concerns that are there. I mean, whilst there are ongoing concerns about whether or not the U.S. is ready for a female president, a black one no less, and if, in fact, Harris, will officially be confirmed on the Democrats' ticket. I think you've addressed that one. There's also great speculation, of course, in terms of who, she'll be choosing as her running mate. When delegates vote next month. Some, of course, suggesting that this is a strategic or should be a strategic move, and it should, in their perspective, be a white man from a swing state, perhaps. I mean, how will all of this culminate and be viewed?
No, I think first of all, on the question of a woman president, the potential woman president, it looks like it's now fait accompli because once she's nominated, if we go by allegiance to parties, which is really the nature of American politics, she has passed a major hurdle. So the Democratic Party followers will definitely, more or less fall behind her on the basis of just party affiliation, party allegiance, and so forth. It would have been difficult if she was going in from the very beginning, as in fact she did in 2020. Then there will be the questions of macho men, strong man, kind of politics that then sweep aside a woman candidate. And in fact, it might actually be a turning point for American politics if she gets endorsed, as she likely is, because it will be, and if she goes all the way to November and wins the election, it's quite feasible, but it will also be unprecedented in the sense that the U.S. has never had a woman president, as you rightly put. Hillary Clinton came close, but she lost also quite narrowly. So there was an indication of a shift. In fact, some have actually in the recent past been calling for the potential coming on of Michelle Obama when Biden was facing his acuity and cognitive capacity challenges related to age. So and of course, on the other side, we have Trump, who is, as I mentioned, a strong man. So the Republican Party might be cast as a party that does not recognize women. In fact, their policies on things like abortion and so forth are anti-women more generally. So I think the election is now going to turn, amongst other things, to gender-related issues. And it will be interesting to see, and I'm confident that it will be the first time that maybe a woman rises to the position of president.
Yeah. And I mean, just in terms of weaknesses from either camp, Republicans and Democrats, I think you've touched on what possibly could be bruising for the Republicans in as far as abortion and anti-reproductive, stance for that particular party. But in as far as the Democrats, I mean, Kamala will have a very hard time then, speaking about the immigration issues that they've been criticized about.
No, I think certainly that is a major big ticket, big card on the part of the Republican Party, because there's been a groundswell of border migrations, particularly from the southern border. Trump is particularly very strong on that under his Make America Great Again, or America First policy, insisting that America is for Americans and we shouldn't have immigrants. And yet the Democratic Party has traditionally always been in favor of migrants, looking at the potential for migrants to bring in new talents, the need for labor in some sectors or industries that are labor intensive, including agriculture, for example. So there are two sides to the coin. I think on the one hand, maintaining a structured legal immigration policy is what Kamala is going to go for. But Trump will redouble his criticism of the Democratic Party generally and Kamala Harris on the fact that they are soft on illegal immigrants. I think that you can actually give to the Republicans as one of their major strengths to the American people. I think the only way, one of the ways in which the Kamala Harris campaign might want to respond is to say that they are in for structured immigration, which does not quite resonate very well with the Make America Great Again kind of sentiment.
Before I let you go, Dr. Wekesa, and of course, just bringing it very closer to home in terms of, just from a geopolitical perspective and the importance then of, this election for South Africa in particular, and of course, the relations between the US and South Africa. I mean, how important then should we be concerned about this possible outcome, not only firstly in, the convention that's happening in a few weeks' time, but also, of course, the main elections in November?
I think one is that it was becoming evident that with Joe Biden at the helm, the Democratic Party was doing badly, and in fact, polling numbers had shown that Trump was actually going to come back. Now it is toss-up, and it is even feasible that the Democratic Party will start having a bigger hand. Usually, the Democratic Party is usually considered the better political party for African countries, South Africa included. South Africa and the U.S. have had difficulties in their relations over the recent past. To point out specifically the fallout out of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, or Russia-Ukraine war, as some people like to put it, where South Africa wanted to play a neutral role but was seen more to be inclined towards the Russian end of things, which is counter to the position the U.S. has taken on Russia in Ukraine. These discussions can be had or can be considered, can even be, it can be feasible with a Democratic Party leadership in the U.S. and a Republican Party position. Yeah. Of course, then South Africa has also gone through the government of national unity, yes. Which opens new avenues for discussion, including on matters foreign policy. Yeah. And the likelihood then
Yeah, Dr. Wekesa, thank you so much. I think we've run out of time, but thank you so much for your insights. Of course, this conversation is something that we will be talking about, all the way until November in that crucial elections. Dr. Bob Wekesa there from the Wits African Center for U.S. Studies.